My wife actually told me, after all your education and all your traveling, if broker is what you're going to become, I'm going to divorce you. And I keep reminding her, see, I kept my word, you did not.
Evolvement of a dalal to a broker to a realtor today, and you've been there in this industry for about 25 years.
डील खत्म करने के बाद कस्टमर के घर के बाहर खड़ा होना पड़ता था जब वो हमारी कमीशन देनी होती थी उन्होंने और पैसे देने होते थे तो वेट करनी पड़ती थी. अब हम अंदर साथ बैठते हैं और ड्रिंक पीते हैं while he gets the money.
फॉर अ रियल्टर उनका नेटवर्क बहुत मैटर करता है, एंड नेटवर्किंग एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ होती है.
It's a very common statement that your network is your net worth. But मैं साथ में ये भी बोलता हूँ it's called network
Right.
क्योंकि it works for you.
How did you feel when you switched from textiles industry to real estate industry, and both the industries are like two different ends?
I would say there is no better script than life written for you.
तो अगर आप बता सकते हैं कि बैंगलोर में 20 इयर्स पहले प्रोमिनेंट एरियाज क्या थे और क्या चेंजेस आके आज के प्रोमिनेंट एरियाज क्या?
मुद्दे की बात पे आते हैं.
Hello everyone, our today's guest in today's podcast is Mr. Samir Arora, who is the founder and CEO of Huts Global, a broking firm in Bangalore. He has served as a past president in NAR India in 2022-23 and is also the chairman and president of CREA, a brokers association in South India. Mr. Samir Arora is having an experience of about 25 years in the Bangalore's real estate market and chose to break the monotony where his family was in army and initially pursued his career into textiles industry and then transitioned into the real estate industry. In this episode, we have discussed the importance of networking in real estate, his inspiration for him to enter the real estate industry, and how NAR India has helped him in his career. He has also shared insights of how the broker's reputation has evolved in this industry and how important a broker is in this industry. Watch this podcast till the very end to know how the Bangalore's real estate industry has evolved since the past 20 years, what are the upcoming locations in Bangalore, and how are various land acquisition processes in Bangalore. Samir ji, very much welcoming you on Speaking Real Estate podcast, and the talk which we had earlier before this podcast already tells about the enthusiasm you have at this age and your vision to increase the reputation of a realtor is something amazing, and you're wanting to leave a mark and make a change is also something very inspirational as well. Welcome to the Speaking Real Estate podcast.
Thank you, Krish. It's both a pleasure and an honor. You know, I keep saying the future of the country lies with the youth, and it's absolutely enlightening to see a young man like you coming from the industry background and taking shape and merging technology with your podcasts and your other initiatives to, you know, take the message across. Because I keep saying this, if the target is a $50 billion market cap, and if the country is going to grow by the huge pace that we are talking about, then I think the next 8 to 10 years, India's growth story is going to be written essentially by real estate and infrastructure as the key components of growth. And hence, I keep saying every stakeholder of real estate industry is living in the best times that they could, and realtor is a very important part of the whole concept. I wear, my pride on my sleeve as a realtor. Designations at various associations and organizations are good, but they are essentially just platforms for us to be able to give back to the fraternity and industry that has given so much. So it's going to be a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for such a delighted introduction of mine. Thank you very much. You are in a way of making that change, and you have certainly given back a lot to your fraternity of realtors, and today having this conversation with you will teach me a lot of things. Firstly, I want to start off with your education.
Wonderful. So, I hail from a family, very, very proud family of, Indian Army officers. My dad was in the Indian Army. My brothers have been serving in the Indian Army. Unfortunately, I was the black sheep who scored some marks in 12th. So I got into engineering. And, I did chemical engineering. I also pursued MBA subsequently, started my career, and it took me a few years to realize I'm not a good engineer and I'm meant for something else. But lighter note apart, I think the foundation of education, because I was able to do my schooling with a army dad in 13 different places over the span of my education. I think it cultivated a lot of culture intermixing for me, and I think the learning began there itself. I keep saying traveling is a huge coach. It teaches you so much about both cultures and the various ways and modes people act. And education goes a long, long way into your becoming who you become. But along with the education, I think we all feel education ends where we end the degrees. I personally feel it begins there, because learning skills is the key. And that is something that we continue to learn all through. I was very impressed talking to you before this, saying I'm doing this podcast only for learning and not to make money. And I was highly, highly impressed. And at my age, I am as eager to learn. And I think it's that eagerness to learn, that yearning to learn, that has helped me also earn along the way. So yeah, education has been a key for me to grow. Of course, I'll crack a little funny one. I remember when I was in an exports field, and my dad suddenly said, Samir, after 12th, you had the option to get into electronics engineering in one college, mechanical engineering in one college, and chemical in one college. How were you so decisive at that age of 16, 17? And I told my dad, frankly, I saw more girls going to chemical engineering than other colleges. But, this is what, while I say jokingly, I also tell people, for their kids and youngsters, saying, we do not give them too much of an aptitude or an attitude. We don't demarcate between the two. And I think it is so important, because every child is going to evolve, and eventually he or
Right.
she is going to pursue their passion. And I think that's
How do
critical.
you, it's definitely seen in you how you're traveling and seeing so many cultures in India and outside India, and as well as your whole thought process is something very, very wonderful. Now, coming back to after your education, what was your career journey?
Yeah, so typically, since I came from a middle class family background and I was an engineer, I worked with a couple of engineering companies, and I think they laid a very, very solid foundation. While I would jokingly say that I'm not a good engineer, the fact is, with a company called Thermax, I got the best marketing engineer award for 3 years in a row, and it was absolutely wonderful to learn. However, some friends plucked me up, and we decided to get into fashion exports, garment exports. That's what brought me to Bangalore from Bombay, and we set up our manufacturing base here. And the next 10, 12 years, I was involved with the garment exports, which is what gave me the opportunity to travel the globe. I traveled 60 plus countries in those 10, 12 years, and it really taught me a lot about the world culture and the organizations. Uh, you know, uh, Negotiation skills, marketing, I think are in your DNA and vein when you get into a sales and marketing field. It could be any product line, and I think that's what I was essentially doing, learning, but maybe preparing myself for something. And there came a stage when I was fed up of international traveling, and I wanted to do something that bring me back home to the kids. And that's how I sort of got into real estate. Of course, there were multiple other inspirations, and it's been just a fantastic journey. Um, I would say there is no better script than life written for you. Your own life is the best script. You can watch any movie, you can watch any sports, but your own life will be the most amazing script, and it takes you places.
How did you feel when you switched from textiles industry to real estate industry, and both the industries are like two different ends?
I just like to use humor all my life, both in business or anywhere. I've sort of used humor, but in the garment industry, in the fashion industry, I was always surrounded by women fashion designers and merchandisers. So that's the first thing I missed in the real estate industry. But lighter vein apart, it's a fact of life, and I've cracked this before. that my wife actually told me, after all your education and all your traveling, if broking and broker was the only term at that point of time, the realtor didn't exist when I started. So if broker is what you're going to become, I'm going to divorce you. And I keep reminding her, see, I kept my word, you did not. But I think nothing succeeds like success. To be very honest with you, everything in life is not rosy. Honestly, when I got into this, I had multiple inspirations with which I started. And I made mistakes and blunders in the first year and a half that nobody can even visualize. Okay. I took a whole brand new large office, did some massive interiors there, thinking that customers will pour in if I have a good place. And then you realize it's a self-driven business and people don't just come in. Clients just don't walk in. I am telling you, every 6 months for the first 1.5 years, I was like, maybe I've come into the wrong field. Maybe I need to go back to something else. So to me, the real estate start was very, very shaky. But then came a stage where a new project was being launched right about 200 meters away from our office. And those were the non-digital marketing days, days of completely personal reference and stuff. And it's then that I realized that it takes you a little time to establish relationships, for people, for trust to build in. And trust is one of the biggest things that people put in a real estate transaction in a realtor's hand. So patience is a must. We started from there. I'm glad we sold 48% of that project single-handedly in the days when mandate didn't exist and when digital marketing didn't exist. And from there, God's been very kind, never had to look back. So, I think it's been a fantastic, phenomenal, absolutely roaring journey with its ups and downs in business as everyone faces. But, if I have another life to lead, I'll choose the
You
same
spoke
path.
about few inspirations for entering the real estate industry. If you can share some light on the inspirations that made you join real estate.
Yeah, so my, I would split this question into two parts: pre and post joining. Post joining, there are different inspirations, obviously, but pre-joining, I actually have a cousin sister who's married, and both of them, husband and wife, very qualified engineers, worked for large MNCs, quit everything, took their real estate licenses, and were doing business. And to me, that was highly inspirational because they were doing extremely well. And I realized after probably a software engineer, being a realtor is the second most respected profession in the United States. And that inspired me. What did also inspire me is, if you look at the insurance sector in India, in the 90s, it was just LIC. And if you see in the 2000s, after they introduced some education, some training, and some certification courses and created a little barrier to entry, after that, VPs of companies got into being insurance brokers. So I felt that real estate and the broking field especially has that kind of an opportunity where education will play a large role and it will create huge opportunities for people coming in. I wasn't wrong. It took a little bit of time, but I think the change is all visible all around. So those were the two of my major inspirations. Of course, after coming into the field, the challenge of meeting newer customers every day from different profile. People may not realize it, but I started with the residential sales, and the home selling is something which is correlated to a passion, to a ingredient of a family where there is a lot of emotion attached to it. And to be the gauging factor, who's the finance minister, who's the home minister, who's the decision maker, how they are going to go about it. I am today very famous with a lot of IT people for telling couples that you'll have half an hour of discussion with me, then you'll have a fight amongst yourselves by the questions that I ask, because they tell, we are very clear what do we want. And I started believing in analyzing their requirement and getting them down. And trust me, husband and wives would fight saying, I want 7th floor, I want 2nd floor, I want east facing, I want west facing, and made them realize that both of you need to come on same page because it's a family doing the buying. and started teaching all that in my company and through the people of, doing the right research, of first analyzing the customer requirement, then offering a solution rather than just selling whatever you have as in your kitty as an inventory. So it's been an absolutely wonderfully challenging journey, and it's filled that quest of, if you're people's people, it's filled that quest. I'm very proud to say that I have handled rentals of bachelors and spinsters who have gone on to buy large villas 9 years, 10 years later, and I've handled properties and managed property transactions for some of the largest CEOs and CXOs and industrialists in Bangalore. So, yeah, it's been a great journey also.
फॉर अ रियल्टर उनका नेटवर्क बहुत मैटर करता है एंड नेटवर्किंग एक बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ होती है. आई वांट टू नो कि हाउ डू यू सी नेटवर्किंग in the real estate industry, and would also want you to give some advice to people on networking.
I think one of the subjects जिस पे जितनी रिसर्च कर ली जाए, जितनी PhD कर ली जाए, कम है. Okay, it's a very common statement that your network is your net worth. But मैं साथ में ये भी बोलता हूँ, it's called network,
Right.
क्योंकि it works for you. If it wasn't, it would be called net sleep. It would be sleeping. So net works. And I think in real estate, every opportunity is about networking. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand the meaning of networking. They would go to a networking event and pass around 100 cards. It takes you a while to realize you cannot know 100 people in an evening. You will probably get to know 10 people, and out of which only 3 or 4
Right.
that you will be able to communicate well. So you need to choose it out. You need to spend it. There are hunters and there are farmers, and networking has to be about farming culture, where you build relationships. Now that is the key part. Today, if you see, a lot of modern breed of realtors coming in are doing only primary and project sales, where the networking relationship is very little and digital marketing is very high. However, the digital marketing is moving to a AI model, it will move to other models, and these things will change. But relationship marketing will go nowhere. And that will remain a key part of real estate. If you see the developed countries, if you see countries where RERA is developed for 30 years, networking is what will make your business stand strong and stable. Whether you're doing it in terms of the political affiliations, whether you're doing it in terms of your business affiliations, industry affiliations, client affiliations, developer affiliations, networking is the key. You might know the owner of a large developer company, but you can't go to him for every small thing. You still have to deal with the manager and the executive and the networking and relationship that you build. I truly believe people do business with people first. People do business with products and services later. So in a networking, if somebody doesn't like you, in real estate, if somebody doesn't like you, I'll give you a small example. I tell people, we all have our political opinions. Many years ago, I wrote a political opinion very strongly on social media. And I used to wonder why 2 of those landlords never worked with me. And it took me years to realize, because of my affiliation to one political party, which was not matching couple of landlords, they refused to work with me. They decided that in the mind and never told me about it. So as a realtor, I think we have to be very apolitical. We have to be strong networkers, and we have to build relationships out of network.
Now, how opportunity is everywhere, and sometimes people don't realize that opportunity is there in front of you and you miss it. I feel networking is like it's there for you to network at that very moment, but people don't make use of it at times.
Krish, I will like to add a dimension to it. Okay, most industries have competition. Some industries have collaboration. Realtor industry is one of the most beautiful industries where we have a collaboration with our competition. We collaborate with the competitor. Every single realtor is a competitor in one sense, but we collaborate. Now, when you people talk of networking, I tell people, first and foremost, join an association which belongs to your industry. That's the biggest networking that you will ever do. And sharing in our business, I think nobody teaches sharing, financial gains sharing, as much as our real estate industry does. There is enough for everybody in there. Okay? So that's the key. Then I tell people, join a business organization, which can help you grow your business modules. There are those networking organizations. Then you talk of social organizations like your Rotaries and Lions and other ones. So, it has to come in the varied category. Whereas if you see, people move sometimes reverse. Okay? Whereas joining a part of your industry association and networking, that's where it begins. Of course, there are 1,000 other industry events which will give you an opportunity to network.
So coming to the topic of associations, you have served as past president of NAR and recently appointed as CEO of NAR. Very, very congratulations to you on that. So I want to know
Thank you.
your journey with NAR, how you joined NAR and what all it has given to you.
To begin the NAR journey, I would like to start with my local association, which is CREA, Confederation of Real Estate Associates India in Bangalore, which started in 2010. The reason I talk of CREA first is because NAR India is the mother association of all city associations. So, 35 cities, 47 associations today, and about 16 states are a part of NAR India. Now, each city association, I still remember when we first started forming our association, and I was talking passionately to you about it. Two things happened, and I think they are hugely inspirational to me. Once I got going into my business, on a same day, a realtor who had, collaborated with me on a small transaction came to me with a really sullen face and said, "Sir, I'm given to understand that your wife is a vice principal in one of the international schools." He named the school in Bangalore. And I said, "Yeah, she is. Please help me get admission there because the other school has refused because the child is very, very good and speaks English even at that young age, but both us parents can't speak English. And they said we can't give admission to a broker's child in an international school those days." Same day, I had applied for a car loan. My banker came and said, "I'm giving your old profile in the form. Your car loan is approved, but I'm giving the old profile because to real estate people, we don't give loans." And those two things impacted me so much. I remember I took that banker's paper, tore it off, and I said, "I can buy the car on my own. We just take loans sometimes for taxation reasons. I don't want the loan from you." And I fought to get that broker's child admission in the international school. But which is where I felt, why demarcate? And I very strongly say this even till today, that English is not a skill. English is a language. You are born to a parent in a metro and you've gone to a convent school, that's why you know English. Somebody is born to a farmer and goes to a school in village and speaks the local language and does not speak English. However, that does not define their skill. Languages can be picked up. Some of us are just more fortunate. Yeah, internationally, when you're doing business, I would say English is valuable and we have to learn it. But otherwise, I think it's just a language. So whether it's English, Hindi, Marathi, Kannada, Punjabi, any language, I think we need to give equal value and we need to give value to the skills. And that is when I realized alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. And then with the industry issues, fortunately, I met a couple of like-minded people and we decided to form this association called CREA in Bangalore. The rest is all history. Today we have 350 member company, one of the largest, the largest association in the country, anywhere in India. 350 company means close to 4,000 or 5,000 people with their staff and everybody. And it's so well respected. because we've been able to stand up for the fraternity, grow the standard, and change the opinion of what the realtor fraternity can do. I personally feel a real estate professional is more involved with the government and the civic sense of the government and the growth and the city more than any other single profession involved, right? So they actually have the pulse better than anybody else. We stepped into NAR India in 2016-17 as an association, and God has been very, very kind. Yeah, we talk of roles. I was the secretary for about a year and a half. I've been the president-elect, president, past president now. I've been appointed the CEO, but it's not about the roles. It's about what we want to do. Right at the beginning, you mentioned that what is your goal? And I said at this age, it's a lot about leaving a legacy. And that legacy is about taking the industry and the fraternity to levels that define us as one of the top industry makers, one of the top contributors to growth of India as a nation in the country. That's the goal.
You're very inspiring, and we hope that happens
Thank you.
very, very soon. Coming to your journey at NAR, I want you to shed some light on the teachings of joining an association, what all it has helped you, maybe few personal case studies or experiences in terms of it benefiting you, be it personal or in business or in any other way.
So when I originally joined NAR India, there were a few like-minded leaders who truly believed, along with me, that education and training, skill development is the key to growth. We had already experienced that at our local association levels as to how much it can do. However, education and training mostly meant, XYZ is a good speaker, let's invite them as a trainer. But how much do you gain in that 1 hour, 1.5 hour, 2 hours? It was becoming a lot more motivational than actual training concepts going into the industry product, right? You mentioned about a trainer saying you went around to a lot of people to understand TDR, and then you went to one gentleman, and 2 hours, I think, of that podcast taught you A to Z of the whole thing. So really, what we wanted to do is bring in a high level of education and training. Some of us took it upon ourselves to start doing it across cities, across associations. I can today share with you, since you asked for an example, sometimes we ourselves don't know. I went to this small city called Raipur. The tier 2, tier 3 cities are really growing, no more small. A lot of business is being done. The hall was full with about 175 brokers, agents, realtors, few members of the associations, and I took a 1 hour session in there, which was probably filled with a lot more of humor than anything else, and people loved it. I also enjoyed giving it. Cut a long story short, 5 years later at a convention of NAR, there's this young boy who walks up to me and says, "Sir, I'm sure you don't recognize me, but you came to Raipur 5 years back and you gave this program title Let's, and you gave the whole training." I said, "Yes, I did." He says, "I was there." I said, "So nice." He says, "I wasn't even a broker then. A friend of mine had invited me. I was in two minds to quit my job, start this business. I heard you and I made a goal. This is what I want to learn. This is what I want to become. And today I have 3 of my own development projects happening in Raipur, and I want to give the credit to you." Now, the day that happens, you feel all your effort of training and education was worth it. However, this is not about personal milestone training. Along the way, some of us leaders also decided that this will not lead to a compulsive, massive training. So what we did, we bought an institute called IIRE, Indian Institute of Real Estate, which has been bought over by NAR India, which has become the education arm. And we made massive strides in progress. So NAR India and IIRE combined. In the Maharashtra, RERA was imposed, and then for the licensing, very recently last year, it became compulsory for realtors to go through a certification course. And NAR India, IRE are one of the 6 authorized institutions doing those courses. So we were able to train over 20,000 realtors. We are also involved with the helping them go through the tests for the certification and stuff. Obviously, in India, lawmaking is one thing. RERA is going to change a lot of things in the country. Unfortunately, RERA is both a central subject and a state subject. So some of the states have not implemented it, like Maharashtra, like Karnataka, like Haryana, some of the other states. But, eventually the whole implementation is coming in. And I think education and training is going to be the key. Now, education and training, even for somebody who's been in the business for 30 years, doesn't stop, because skill sets change, technologies come in, new modalities of business come in, and I think we have to keep upgraded. Fractional real estate was something nobody had even heard of a few years back. It's nothing but a private REIT. And then it took off. And now SEBI is bringing in a lot of changes into the norms and stuff. So, it's a continuously evolving market. So we've also tied up at NAR India with RICS, which is one of the world's largest training institute, the chartered surveyors. And I'm glad to inform over 100 people. It's one of the most expensive trainings also that happen. Of course, they worked out a few discounts for RICS Business Kind in the collaboration. And over 100 NAR India members have started doing RICS courses. So training, education, as per me, is the greatest mode of the change in the industry that is going to come by. And we are all playing our role into it in making it happen.
How an association is powerful and how it can benefit an individual. And your examples and experiences also clearly speaks how much important an association is for an individual. Coming to this point of evolvement of a dalal to a broker to a realtor today, and you've been there in this industry for about 25 years, there is a huge amount of reputation that has been built for realtors today, and people respect them and will gain with the further time as well. So if you could speak about the journey of realtors over the past 20 years, how it was then and what caused this change to happen, and how is it now, and what is the future?
फैंटास्टिक. तो 20 साल पहले जब हम ट्रांजैक्शन करते थे, मैं थोड़ा अनपॉश लैंग्वेज में बोलूँगा, डील ख़त्म करने के बाद कस्टमर के घर के बाहर खड़ा होना पड़ता था जब वो हमारी कमीशन देनी होती थी उन्होंने और पैसे देने होते थे, तो वेट करनी पड़ती थी. अब हम अंदर साथ बैठते हैं और ड्रिंक पीते हैं while he gets the money. The reason I say this in very simple terms, that's the evolution of the relationship effect. But really speaking, broker क्यों बदनाम था? Part of the fault lies with our own education system. अगर कुछ और नहीं करना आता है तो real estate के broker बन जाओ was the terminology. Women can't enter the real estate industry because it's not safe. Today, I'm glad 25% of the industry is almost women. So things have evolved, things have changed, as they have changed in multiple other fortitudes, okay? Real estate, first and foremost, has to be given an industry status by the government of India. Already 13% of the GDP, we're likely to go up till 15, 18, 20. When you're talking of that large growth, when you're talking of the second largest employment sector in India, that's a must that needs to be given. The realtor fraternity, जो broker है इसमें, see, value addition, people were always on cost and price. Whereas what the realtor is getting you is value addition. मेरे पास एक, I was doing a decent sized transaction. The gentleman happened to be, the buyer happened to be from Microsoft. उन्होंने मेरे को बोला, आप इतना कमीशन क्यों ले रहे हो? काम तो इतना हुआ है. And then I told him कि आप यार 6,000 रुपये क्यों लेते हो हर विंडोज की कॉपी का? 10 रुपये में तो सीडी बन जाता है एक बार आपने बना लिया उसके बाद. तो बहुत हंसे थे. And I told him, I am charging for what I have invested into myself as a realtor. Are you aware that I've gone through 28 specialized trainings, including legal training, including accounting training. I am a half a lawyer, half a CA, so that I can give you a better real estate transaction. We structure a deal, whether residential or commercial or anything else. And I think that is why it is so crucial for you to realize that जो जर्नी रही है वो मल्टीपल इंडस्ट्रीज में रही है, लेकिन ब्रोकर बदनाम था. Now, some rotten apples spoil the whole basket, as they say. इस इंडस्ट्री में थोड़े केसेस ऐसे हुए थे. अभी I today fight with journalists. Even they don't understand the term. Realtor is a term patented by NAR US. A broker registered with NAR US is called a realtor. They in turn have given it to NAR India to use it, right? So they will refer a builder also as realtor. और पेपर में क्या छपता है? एक छोटा बिल्डर है नोएडा में, वो रियल्टर पैसे लेके भाग गया. अब रियल्टर की टर्मिनोलॉजी बदनाम हो रही है, ब्रोकर की टर्मिनोलॉजी बदनाम हो रही है. बट ट्रूली स्पीकिंग, देयर आर एज मेनी rotten apples in our industry as there are in every other industry, including IT and software. It's just that they don't get highlighted like that, right? दूसरा, लोगों को लगता है, see, whatever people see, and this I say very passionately for all my broker fraternity, they see only the one transaction that happens and then they feel, ये तो आसान काम था. What they don't see is the 99 transactions that he has worked on,
right,
and they haven't. So once you realize we are the one of the only professions where we are not paid anything in advance. Everything is a success fee for us. You're not even paid for finalizing a transaction. You are paid only when
property,
you register the property, when the whole success of the transaction happens, right? So there is a huge risk factor involved. The broker invests in his training, in his education, in his skill development, in his research, and in his expertise. And I think that's what they are being paid for. So, broker, dalal, broker, agent, realtor, terminology kuch bhi ho, it is my goal to see it from a not so respected profession to being one of the most respected professions. And that's why at associations, we've even started competing with the large MNCs, and we are doing more CSR activities than a lot of many people can think of. So, I think it will evolve, and it
definitely,
will be one of the
and
most
it will
respected
happen.
professions around.
Coming to the future of a realtor,
if you talk about the future, India has never been geopolitically as strongly positioned as it is positioned today. God forbidding some world crazy situation, the next few years belong to India's growth story, and everybody is saying it. Whether we hit those marks that our Prime Minister is aiming for or not, the fact still remains we will grow humongously. Okay? And everybody knows real estate will be a very large integral part of this growth. One of the things that I want to tell realtors, which is true for developers, which is true for all associate industries of real estate too, सब लोग बोलते हैं बड़े बड़े हो जाएंगे, छोटे गायब हो जाएंगे. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. I am a very firm believer, organized will grow, unorganized will vanish. It's not about being small or big. You will see many small developers today becoming large, potent forces and industrial companies in the next 5 to 10 years. Many new billionaires in real estate will be produced in India in the next 5 to 10 years. Many of them will be from realtor fraternity. And the thing demarcating them will be how organized you are or how unorganized. Now, what does organized mean? Times change, and we have to adapt with times. Digital technologies took over. AI is taking shape completely. In real estate, 3D printing might come as a technology to construct, like my one came and like many other technologies came. Keeping pace with the change, getting organized and growing would be the key to growth. So that is something, and which is where, again coming back, new education, training, skill development, continuous learning, and being continuously growing on the path is the key. मेरे को थोड़ी देर पहले किसी ने पूछा था कितना पैसा कमाओ, ऐसी मजाक में जैसे बोल देते हैं, कुछ ट्रांजैक्शन हुई थी. एंड माई रिप्लाई वॉज ओनली वन. आई सेड मेरे फादर तो आर्मी में थे, उनको ब्रेवरी मेडल्स मिलते, हमारे रियल एस्टेट में तो नहीं मिलने वाला. रियल एस्टेट का नोबेल प्राइज अभी भी बना नहीं है. तो मेकिंग मनी इज ऑल्सो अ मेजर ऑफ सक्सेस, एंड आई एम एडिक्टेड टू सक्सेस. सो एवरी रियल्टर should be making money because that's a measure of success.
A great vision to have, and this will be happening as you are saying. Coming to, you draw a lot of, the whole community of India of realtors draws a lot of inspiration from NAR US. I want you to speak about the positioning of NAR US and how they have established themselves in US and how India is following to be at the same position in future.
See, first and foremost, NAR as a body in US was formed in 1908. So it's just 100 years extra older than NAR India. We were formed in 2008, so it's exactly 100 years. We are a 16-year-old body and they're a 116-year-old body. They're also the 8th largest association amongst, 8th richest association amongst all associations. Billions of dollars, okay? Via their education training programs, via their membership fee, but also via they get involved with political advocacy. So obviously setting up all those systems and growing to that large scale, there are also 1.6 million members. 16 lakh members in US. Now imagine India's population, 140 crores. I think at least 140 lakh people are involved with broking one way or the other. I'm saying reduce it by another 90%, 14 lakhs. So while we say NAR India is big, NAR India is still small and the potential is very, very large. And we will be able to move political advocacy only when large numbers of people in organized way come and be a part of the association. Because why would the government listen to you until unless you have large numbers, right? Let's face it. Governments also want vote banks beside everything else, right? Any governments. So point is, we have to create a whole momentum of getting there like NAR. Now, their focus, if you see the kind of education that they spread through the year, at their convention, the national convention, we very proudly say in India, 2,000 people and 2,500 people we have started hitting. And they do it at places where 90,000 people can attend in a day. And 45, 50,000 people do, which is very, very large numbers, okay? But having said that, like all organizations, we also blindly follow first, which is what we started doing with NAR US. India is a unique country with a lot of unique systems, right? And what we have now started doing is adapting the best from all associations, including our parent NAR US, but creating our own mode. See, in US, they have a MLS system, because of which they can implement a lot of rules on brokers. We don't have an MLS here. We don't have an implementable rule. In fact, RERA is the first government initiative which has recognized the realtors and brokers as being part of the whole ecosystem, right? So I think the growth has just started happening, and we need to create the best of the whole system, do it. We are really picking out the best. Having said that, we are very proud. I myself served as chairman of international affairs for NAR at the NAR US about a year back. And our vice chairman has also been on the board of NAR India, NAR US in the international field. And that's a matter of pride for us. So doing wonderfully well and picking the best from there. We also do a lot of inter-exchange programs. And there is a lot of code of conduct and code of ethics that we have picked up from there, from NAR US, which we are now teaching at NAR India.
I'm 100% sure that the positioning of realtors is going to be as one of the most important people in this whole ecosystem. Definitely it is going to happen. Because of you all, the whole leadership of NAR is so inspiring and something I really like about you all.
Thank you so much. I am honored and humbled. But let me tell you, एक टाइम था जब मैं भी सोचता था हम इंजीनियर एमबीए बन के रियल एस्टेट में आ गए हैं, रियल्टर बन गए हैं. देयर आर नॉट टू मेनी लाइक दैट. बट ट्रस्ट मी, today I know doctors, I know engineers, I know lawyers, I know merchant navy people, I know IT professionals, senior ones who are a part of the industry. I am just so glad. You are probably taking an interview right now with me, but I'm telling you, if you come to a NAR India conference, there are dozens like me and better who will give you a vision. And I think it's a whole collective vision which is taking us to the next levels, which we are all trying to put together, contribute. So no, I would not like to take any individual credit for it. I think I'm just a part of the system that's trying to change the whole thing collectively.
If you can make a small change, everybody together can contribute so much and make a bigger change. Coming and shifting a little bit towards Bangalore. 20 years पहले शायद वाइटफील्ड नहीं था जो आज वाइटफील्ड है. तो अगर आप बता सकते हैं कि बैंगलोर में 20 इयर्स पहले प्रोमिनेंट एरियाज क्या थे और क्या चेंजेस आके आज के प्रोमिनेंट एरियाज क्या है.
मुद्दे की बात पे आते हैं वो इधर के, एज यू वुड राइटली से कि वेयर इज द बिजनेस ग्रोइंग, हाउ द सिटीज. क्रिश, वेरी इंटरेस्टिंगली, मेरे को भी 25 साल हो गए बैंगलोर में. लाइक एनी अदर बैंगलोरियन, मैं भी बहुत बार ट्रैफिक को कर्स करता हूँ. एंड मैं एक बार ऊबर में बैठा था, एंड दैट गाय ओपन माई आइज. वी माइट डू एज मच रिसर्च एज वी वॉन्ट टू, बट सम ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट कम फ्रॉम दीज फेलोज आर एब्सोल्युटली ब्रिलियंट. ओके, एंड आई वॉज इंटरेक्टिंग और मेरे मुंह से कुछ निकला बैंगलोर ट्रैफिक के बारे में. एंड ही टोल्ड मी, सर, पूरी दुनिया में कोई ऐसी सिटी नहीं है which has grown its population by 7 times in just 15 years. From 20 lakhs, it's gone to 1.4 crores in about a 17-18 year span. कहाँ से कोई गवर्नमेंट इतना आपको इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बना के दे पाएगी? Nobody is ready for a 7 times growth. And it hit me like a tornado, saying that's a fact. Having said that, we all expect a lot out of our governments. We want infrastructure to improve, to do that. But Bangalore, Hyderabad, these are cities which have grown, Pune, have grown at a phenomenal pace. Okay? अब आप specifically Bangalore की बात करें, तो till about Y2K, till 2000, it was actually considered a pensioner's paradise. आप 95-96 में जब मैं यहाँ पहली बार आया था तो एसीज की जरूरत नहीं होती थी. फैंस पे सारा काम चलता था. पीपल टेल मी पहले फैंस की भी जरूरत नहीं होती थी. बट पॉइंट इज द सिटी हैज इवॉल्व्ड. ओके, एंड ऑब्वियसली व्हेन अ सिटी इवॉल्व्स, it's the outskirts that evolved. Once I became a part of the real estate ecosystem, you're talking Whitefield, Sarjapur Road is considered the southeast and southeast corridor of Bangalore. The eastern Bangalore, okay, when Shobha as a developer first made close to about 600-700 apartments in a cluster, there was nothing here. The prices of land were about 1,500 to 2,000 rupees a square feet, even after the ring road was made and stuff. And everybody said, "Kaun aake rahega yahan?" And I had that point of time written an article saying, you look at Sarjapur Road, there are 16 top international and domestic schools right here on this road, which is nowhere else in the city. Most people, and it's surrounded by IT belts coming up in Outer Ring Road, Marathali, Whitefield, Electronic City, Koramangala. Hence, this will grow as a residential corridor hugely. And that's what happened. Population explosion happened here. Okay? Today, some of these belts, just for your information, are the highest income tax paying zones in the country, not just in Bangalore. That's the kind of people that are living there. Obviously, infrastructure growth needs to keep pace. The airport was subsequently decided on the North Bangalore side, and you've already seen the development on North Bangalore. India being India, every place will eventually pick up, but the hot corridors in Bangalore remain East Bangalore, which is an established belt in the IT field, and the North Bangalore. which is coming up with a lot of SEZ parks, further technology parks, aerospace parks, and the infrastructure growth, right? Few years ago, I had said this. Take a CBD, central business district of any major city in India, and within 10 square kilometers, show me land that's available at 6,000 rupees a square. And you see right after the pandemic, first with the luxury living and then with everything else, the prices have shot up phenomenally because the demand shot up. It's a great time for real estate. I personally feel with minor bit of corrections, over the next 10 years, it will happen. The fortunate part, unlike Bombay with Bangalore is a circular city. So we had the inner ring road, we had the outer ring road, we now have the peripheral ring road coming. So point is you can grow Bangalore on the outer structure. Whereas some place like Bombay, you can't because it's a linear structure. And you've got only east and west of everything, right? So I think, contrary to most people's belief, Bangalore will still remain. And see, Bangalore has that whole advantage of a natural climatic conditions where the work output is hugely productive. So even though Hyderabad caught up a lot and the infrastructure is slightly better right now, but I think Bangalore will continue to grow at a good pace. At least, especially the IT industry continues to grow. So yeah, there we are on Bangalore. I know you were also asking me about the land parcels, and that is where I said any city goes through it. It grows at such a frenetic pace, and then a lot of land parcels get into... Bangalore is right now going through a place where trivial issues of litigations exists in many land parcels, but land parcels still exist, right? There's been a lot of agricultural conversion. There'll be more that will come along the way, but the outskirts growth will be phenomenal. The CBD growth will obviously be lesser because there is not too much available.
आप काफ़ी लैंड का काम करते हैं बैंगलोर में. Can you give some light on how the process of land acquisition happens, the challenges a developer or any landowner faces whenever these kind of transactions are being done?
The new modalities on joint development and joint ventures have created very high taxation grounds for landowners. So that becomes a bottleneck. Developers in the past, some especially, have done joint developments where they sign up the agreements and then don't do developments for years, which holds the landowner from his revenue, because developers wait for prices to go up, and in the whole process, there is trust deficit created, right? But as we go along, I see more and more that the whole transaction mechanism from earlier outright buys to changing to joint development, joint ventures, will change into a three-way system, which is beginning to happen, where there is a landowner, there is a developer, there is an investor, and there is a realtor who's structuring all of these transactions. So commercial transactions will become complex, but that's how it's going to happen. Consolidation of landowners, consolidation of lands, aggregation of lands with the farming lands, the conversions. I think one of the biggest challenges is the government policy, which, when it is not consistent, when it changes with the government, can be... Real estate is a subject where you need a consistent policy for the governments, for the stakeholders to be able to plan their investments in big ways. Now, all India scale players like Godrej, Lodha, some of the larger ones, DLF, are all in these cities, and obviously there would be more and more structured play on the land that will come into picture. So land still continues in the old format, in the relatively newer format, and in the format that's going to come, but it's going to always remain the biggest game in the pitch.
Thank you so much, Samir ji, for shedding your light on importance of a realtor and how Bangalore is shaping up, to your all experiences you shared, and loved the humor you have, and you are such a humble and a person to look up to because the energy that you carry at this very age also is something very exciting. मतलब मज़ा आता है बात करके, and it comes in my mind that whenever I'm coming to Bangalore, I'm definitely going to pay a visit to you, be it a reason, majorly without a reason, to just have fun and chill with you. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you for sharing some of your learnings, and thank you for your time.
Truly been a pleasure. And, Krish, whether you believe this or not, I always say this. One of the biggest secrets to remain young is to stay in touch with the youth. So I'm telling you, when you're coming next, we are not sitting on a podcast. We're going out partying and pubbing in Bangalore. That's a promise from me. And, it remains one of my goals to give youngsters a run for their money and, catch pace with them. But trust me, I learn from them. I learn from them, and I'm not saying it for the sake of saying it. Even in my company, I keep saying a young trainee who joins in may ask 8 stupid questions, but I always see the 2 genius questions also comes from them, which probably becomes an idea, which probably fructifies into us doing something better. So really, I believe in the power of youth, and I think what you guys are doing is absolutely amazing. We remain passionate about it. And, when people use the word legacy, or I use it, to me, it's all about the impact you leave with posterity, who's going to carry it forward.
I'm very thankful for your whole contribution to the real estate industry, and looking forward to having a great time with you ahead in life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.